Good morning. It's 10 a.m. Eastern and 7 a.m. on the West Coast. I'm Christine Romans. Let's get you current. Breaking this morning, a weather emergency in the Midwest. Water rescues and evacuations as rain inundates Indiana. We're live in the storm zone. A deadly military helicopter crash in Texas. 2 soldiers killed. The investigation into what caused it now underway. Also breaking this morning, disturbing reports of dire conditions on board the USS Abraham Lincoln during an extended deployment. How the Navy is responding. And millions of people in awe after the total solar eclipse in Europe. We have all the stunning images of the spectacle. And good to be with you this Thursday, August 13th. We've got a lot of news to get to this morning. We begin with breaking news. Parts of the Midwest waking up to a 4th straight day of catastrophic storms. Take a look at this unbelievable scene out of Indiana. Entire neighborhoods completely underwater. Crews carrying out nonstop emergency water rescues. The flash flooding triggered by as much as a foot of rain falling in 36 hours. Hundreds of thousands across the region are still without power this morning. At least 3 people have been killed in this week's storms. Meteorologist Angie Lassman will have the forecast for us in a moment, but we want to begin with NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa. She is in Indiana. And Maggie, it looks like water levels may be starting to come down a tiny bit. How are conditions looking right now?
Christine, they're definitely receding, which is good news. But here's the thing. We have more rain in the forecast, which Angie is going to talk about. But can I show you? I mean, the damage is still staggering. We have these homes here. They're still underwater. People on the porch of that red house there, they've been wading back and forth through this water, trying to rescue pets and cats from that house. They say the man who lived there had to get out so quickly he couldn't bring his pets with him. You can also see that school bus there down the street, cars still submerged. We have a lot of people, frankly, just coming back home today as the water recedes and finding absolute devastation. I mean, these storms, as you'll see, just really wreaking havoc across the state, across the region. After days of torrential rain, large portions of Indiana are underwater. This is nuts. Some communities slammed with more than a foot of rain in 36 hours.
We've got a major disaster going on.
The rushing water creating sinkholes and swallowing highways. The flooding in Hagerstown leaving multiple people trapped in this store surrounded. They had to be rescued with a front loader. Rescue boats navigating neighborhoods and first responders out in Muncie, where residents were wading through high water in pouring rain, carrying pets, while cars were submerged. One man even climbing onto the roof of his vehicle. Ron Longo's lived here nearly 30 years. Have you ever seen it this high, this bad?
No.
Never?
Never.
Nationwide, hundreds of thousands don't have power.
Everybody's without power. I have a tree down and it ripped the power lines off my house.
Outside Chicago, long lines at gas stations with people filling containers to power generators.
This could take through the weekend to restore power.
The outages coming with more than 70 million Americans under heat alerts, stretching from the plains to Florida, all as large parts of the country clean up from those fierce storms.
And Maggie, how are folks there preparing for, you said, more rain in the forecast?
Yeah, there is more rain in the forecast. I'll let Angie get into that. I mean, the short answer is, Christine, I would say a lot of them aren't. Like those who were impacted by this first round of flooding, they're just trying to wrap their heads around what happened. And they're going into these homes that are covered in mud. All their possessions are destroyed. We just talked to a couple earlier. We'll have her in the next hour who have 6 kids. They got out of the house just in time. They swam out of their house. They just walked back in and she started sobbing. And she said, we've worked our whole lives for this. So people who were impacted, devastated by the first round, they're just trying to catch their breath. Those who dodged the first round, they are just trying to do what they can to get their possessions. Can we zoom in really quickly on this couple? That's who we're talking about, who's just trying to save their pets out of this house, Christine. They're wading back and forth, trying to find the animals that they can inside that home. They told us 2 of their cats, actually, they've already learned, were killed in the storms. And I mean, this is like the scene that we're seeing across Indiana throughout the day today, is people just doing what they can to save the possessions and the things they love, knowing more rain is coming.
Yeah, and scenes like that always remind me of the dangers that lurk under the water as people try to get back into their homes. There can be glass, there can be cut metal, there can be so many things. So hopefully you and your team are being very, very careful out there. Maggie Vespa, thank you so much. Joining us now, NBC News meteorologist Angie Lassman. Angie, what do the next 24 hours look like for those folks in those very inundated communities?
Yeah, unfortunately, Christine, we've said it already this morning. There's more rain on the way, and in some of those same spots that folks are just trying to, as Maggie put it, catch their breath and wrap their head around what has already happened. We've got plenty of flood alerts across those same regions. Notice it is dry across places like Indiana right now, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, stretching back into West Virginia. That's where it's quiet, but we've got the flood alerts. If you look to the west, though, we've got this already kind of rampant line of thunderstorms that has been ongoing across parts of Iowa through the day today. We've seen severe thunderstorm watches all morning long. There is one in effect right now through at least 11 a.m. A lot of heavy rain with that. We've got plenty of lightning, and we are expecting another round of kind of severe weather today as the afternoon and evening hours get underway. This is all part of kind of this heat dome that's set up and, of course, leaving us with really hot conditions across the south. But that also means that we've got kind of all of the fuel that we need for these ridge rider storms, those storms that go up along the northern barrier, basically peripheral of this high pressure system. And that is in part why we see this day after day kind of flood threat and severe weather threat in some of those same spots across the plains in the Midwest. Today is no different. Notice where that renewed flood threat is, again, centered across parts of Indiana, stretching into Kentucky, as well as Ohio. The grounds, as we know, already saturated. We're looking for some time for some of that water to recede, but we don't really have it. We've got additional maybe 6 to 10 inches on the way in some of these spots, and we've got the chance to see some severe threat again as we get into the evening hours tonight and even late afternoon. It looks like we're mainly going to see wind gusts be the biggest issue, Christine, but we could be looking at some hail and even some isolated tornadoes. And on top of that, of course, we've got that additional rain with the flooding concerns where we could see more than 5 inches of rain by the time we get through tomorrow.
All right, Angie Lassman, it's just been a really wet Midwest there. Thank you so much. All right, more breaking news this morning and disturbing reports of dire conditions on board the USS Abraham Lincoln. 2 military papers report there have been multiple attempts by personnel to jump overboard during an extended deployment. About 5,000 sailors and Marines have been on the Lincoln for a record 250 days as they support the war with Iran. A Navy official disputes that there's been an increase in mental health concerns on board the carrier. More on this developing story in our next hour with a live report. 2 American soldiers are dead after an Army Apache helicopter crashed in a Texas field. The crash ignited a massive brush fire just south of Fort Hood yesterday afternoon. The military is now investigating what caused the chopper to go down. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock has the latest for us. Sam?
Hi there. It was just utter tragedy in Texas. Local officials receiving emergency calls around 1:30 in the afternoon yesterday and arriving to find a helicopter crash and a wildfire that was burning out of control. While the military hasn't provided any details about why the chopper was flying or the circumstances of the crash, we know that 2 service members died as an investigation is fully underway.
This morning, flames and charred grass are all that remain.
Possibly have seen an aircraft fallout crash. Still getting further information on it. Several calls.
After a deadly U.S. Army helicopter crash in Salado, Texas.
Strike team activation requested by Salado for a helicopter crash.
The Apache chopper, based out of nearby Fort Hood, going down suddenly.
It crashed into a field. You could tell it was a violent crash.
The sheriff's office and military officials confirming the 2 service members on board were killed. Smoke billowing from the site yesterday. The chopper's impact igniting a massive brush fire that's still not fully contained. First responders using their own helicopter to try and douse the flames. Fort Hood officials saying in a statement, "Our thoughts and deepest sympathies are with the families, friends, and fellow troopers of those involved."
These aviators are very close. It's a close-knit community. They are brothers and sisters in arms, and they need some time to grieve.
The Apache is a 2-seat aircraft and attack helicopter that the military describes as the most advanced aerial fighting vehicle in the world. NBC News military analyst and retired Colonel Steve Warren describes that chopper as a tank in the sky that's difficult to fly.
Over the years, it's been upgraded heavily. More electronics, more capabilities, more weapon systems. So all of these add-ons, all this extra weight, all of this extra power, it flies differently than it used to.
In 2024, the Army launched a new safety initiative to reverse what it called a troubling trend of accident rates involving its aircraft. Texas has seen a number of military helicopter crashes, most notably in 2015, when 4 soldiers died in a Black Hawk crash, also connected to Fort Hood.
Fort Hood's Criminal Investigation Division is leading the review into what happened. And again, while we don't know what led up to the accident, it is important to point out that the Apache helicopter is used in every combat division in the Army. Back to you.
All right, Sam Brock. Thanks, Sam. There's a major change coming to President Trump's White House and to one of the most visible jobs in Washington. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is stepping down at the end of this month, saying she wants to spend more time with her young family. The 28-year-old made history as the youngest White House press secretary. She became one of the president's most prominent and combative defenders. Her departure sets up a high-profile shakeup inside the West Wing. NBC News White House reporter Monica Alba joins us now. Monica, when she was on maternity leave, she came back last month. What are we learning about how this decision came together?
Yeah, I mean, this was a pretty much surprise announcement. Christine, as you mentioned, this is somebody who is in the innermost circle of this White House, a very close and trusted advisor of the president. But she is the one who says that upon reflection, coming back from maternity leave after having her daughter at the beginning of May, that she just didn't feel like she could be, in her words, the best mom to her 2 young children, the mom she says that they deserve, given all the demands of this very high pressure and high power job. And we're learning more about what she's going to be doing instead. And according to the president, she is going to serve as a top outside advisor and likely somebody who will continue to be one of his key messengers. But she can now do that without some of the constraints of being a government employee. And leading up to the midterm elections, that's something probably, according to the president and the White House, that she's really going to lean into. But again, without the demands and the time constraints of being here every day. Christine.
Monica, during her leave, there were several high-profile fill-ins, at the podium, like cabinet members, but we didn't see members of her staff. Is there a short list of who could replace her?
I think we should look to how they handled her maternity leave as pretty instructive to how they might think about this in the short term. We know that she plans to leave at the end of the month, but during the next couple of weeks or so and after she departs, it's likely we could see that again. You did have cabinet secretaries like Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and others take to the podium to have their own sort of guest star hosts and briefings, including the vice president as well. Right now, I'm told by a White House official there are no immediate plans to replace her, but that could just mean, again, in the next couple of weeks while they do a more thorough search. But there isn't a short list yet about who could be the next White House press secretary.
And Monica, before we let you go, we're now learning that the secret Air Force One plane swap that we've been telling you about was prompted by an Iranian plot to fire a missile at the president's plane. What more do we know about that missile threat and just how close it may have been to being carried out?
Well, look, according to a U.S. official, it was extremely serious, and that is why they are justifying this really intense catering truck move and clandestine plot. But if you ask the president himself, he really downplayed it, saying that he didn't think it was that big of a threat. So it's a little bit unclear exactly as we try to work to learn more specifics about the nature of it.
Monica Alba. Monica, thank you at the White House for us this morning. In Colombia, rescuers and volunteers are racing against time to reach survivors after a deadly earthquake on Monday. The death toll now 265. Thousands are still missing. NBC News correspondent George Solis is in Cali, Colombia, with the latest efforts on the ground.
This morning in Western Colombia, it's a race against time, with rescuers and many volunteers working around the clock, searching for survivors through aftershocks and grueling heat. This couple using special microphones designed to pick up the slightest sounds in collapsed buildings. We haven't slept, but we're waiting, trying to help, she tells me. Rescue operations only pausing when they pick up any trace of life. In Cali, 23-year-old Christian Menenses is clinging to hope his friends will be found, even as the odds of rescue grow slim. None of us have lost faith, he says. We're all here for them. The risks are great. This rescuer had to be rescued himself after falling through the cracks of a collapsed apartment building. New images of the quake's destructive power emerging too. Passengers filming at a regional airport when shattered glass comes down on the tarmac. The death toll now soaring above 260. At this hospital, doctors feeling the pressure. We're broken, Dr. Karen Ruiz tells me. Her colleague, Dr. Claudia Gomez, says her team has treated more than 100 patients. It's not one person, we're all a family, she tells us. Our clinic responded with everything we have. This patient, grateful to be alive. John Solarte recalls the floor at work violently shaking. He tried to run for safety, but fell, breaking his knee. Across the country, we're witnessing incredible acts of humanity. And it's not just when people are rescued. This crowd's celebrating after firefighters pulled a trapped dog to safety. A small victory in this very big disaster zone. George Solis, NBC News.
All right, millions of people look to the skies to witness a celestial spectacle as a total solar eclipse swept across parts of the northern hemisphere. As the eclipse moved from Iceland to Spain, the day suddenly turned dark for a moment, just about 2 minutes, as the moon passed directly in front of the sun. NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez got a look at the spectacular view. Raf?
Hey there, yeah, just an amazing big show in the sky. We were right in the path of totality here in Spain, which means for 1 minute and 40 magical seconds, the sun was completely blocked out by this perfect black sphere of the moon. It was an incredible sight seen by millions and millions of people across Europe.
This was the moment the world was waiting for. The outline of the sun like a diamond ring before being completely blocked out by the moon in Europe's first total solar eclipse in more than 25 years. The path of totality starting in Iceland, where Reykjavik plunged into darkness, then swooping into Spain, where 500,000 eclipse-chasing tourists gathered. This Olympic skateboarder pulling off a once-in-a-century trick against the low-hanging sun. In Paris, London, and in Rome, humanity's iconic monuments made small by the solar blackout. The view even more dazzling from 30,000 feet over the Earth. In the U.S., partially visible on the East Coast, in New York and Maine. And in a remarkable night in the skies worldwide, another phenomenon visible. The Perseids meteor shower. Back in Spain, we watched the eclipse outside the city of Valladolid, where Max Fulmer was celebrating his 3rd birthday.
Birthday to you.
And then it came.
Perfect circle of blackness, and all around it, this just totally majestic corona of the sun. It looks like somebody has just punched a hole in the sky. It's really, really amazing. The light is coming up. You can see it on McKay's face here. Just totally enchanted.
It felt a little transformative, to be honest, just because it was just so beautiful.
A spectacle in the heavens bringing us together here on Earth.
And if you were thinking of traveling for yesterday's total solar eclipse but couldn't make it, you're in luck. There is another one passing through southern Spain and North Africa next year. In Luxor, Egypt, where the pharaohs are buried, the totality is going to last more than 6 minutes. That's 4 times as long as what we had here. Next total solar eclipse in the United States is going to be in 2033, and that one's up in Alaska. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Raf Sanchez. Tough assignment, Raf. Thank you. 2 of our own team members were in Spain to catch a view of the eclipse. Our producer, Aaron, sending this to us from Petra, Spain. Gorgeous. And our director, Adam, tuning in for the special coverage from a boat off Spain.
We're in the middle of the ocean. I met a bunch of friends out here. We watched the eclipse together. We saw the entire thing, and then right at the second of totality, big cloud came over it, and instead of the joyous celebration that we were expecting, there was like a collective groan and a sigh of defeat. But it was a lot of fun, and you can now see coming around the other way. Let's see. Can you see it out there?
Yep,
so
there
we have
it
a
is.
gorgeous sunset happening right on the edge of the ocean here.
All right, Adam, finish your beer and then get back here. We need you. We miss you guys. Thank you so much. What an experience, though, for both of them. And we'll see you both soon. All right, much more ahead on this Thursday, including the new details on the murder of beloved director Rob Reiner and his wife, what we learned in their son's indictment. Plus, it's bin face versus the face of Brexit. We take you inside today's wacky and consequential elections in Britain. And later, the new lawsuit facing President Trump's media company over selling premium access to the president's words. More current after the break. A new development in the murder case that shook Hollywood. Nick Reiner, the son of legendary director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle, has been indicted by a grand jury. He is accused of fatally stabbing his parents inside their Los Angeles home last December. Reiner has pleaded not guilty. Yesterday, the grand jury finding enough evidence to move the case forward without a preliminary hearing. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky explains what that means for the case. Morgan?
Yeah, here in Los Angeles, this was a grand jury indictment following months of evidence being reviewed behind closed doors. And by securing these charges, prosecutors have now bypassed the need for another hearing, moving this case one step closer to trial.
This morning, murder suspect Nick Reiner behind bars with no option for bail, facing new charges in the murders of his mother and father, Michelle and Rob Reiner. The unsealed indictment, charging the 32-year-old with 2 counts of first-degree murder, with the addition of a special circumstance, alleging Nick Reiner used a knife and intentionally killed his parents by means of lying in wait. In a statement, the L.A. County District Attorney called it a profound betrayal by someone who was loved and trusted by the very people he's accused of killing. Reiner had talked about his son's struggles over the years.
Your main job is to keep your child safe.
The beloved director and his wife, Michelle, were found deceased inside their Brentwood home on December 14th. Authorities say they had been stabbed to death. Just hours prior, authorities say Nick joined his parents at a holiday party hosted by Conan O'Brien, where 2 people familiar with the situation told NBC News Nick became disruptive. Police arresting Reiner one day after the bodies of his parents were discovered in their bedroom. Now prosecutors moving forward toward a trial and bypassing a public preliminary hearing.
Generally speaking, if prosecutors have a choice between a preliminary hearing and a grand jury proceeding, they're going to choose the grand jury.
Nearly 8 months after the shocking crime, Rob and Michelle's other children, Jake and Romy Reiner, honoring their parents at Dodger Stadium with a ceremonial first pitch.
Before the game even started, it was an emotional time for me. I thought the Dodgers did a fantastic job with the tribute to my parents.
In April, Jake opened up about the family tragedy in a Substack essay, writing, "I was robbed of so many things that day. My parents won't be at my wedding. They won't get to hold their future grandchild." And regarding his brother's alleged crime, "It simultaneously breaks my heart and enrages me."
And again, Nick Reiner has pleaded not guilty, and his court-appointed attorney is declining to comment at this time. And this is all coming as the 32-year-old is seeking access to his trust fund. That's currently valued at around $1.5 million, and he's now filed a petition to try to get some of that money that could help pay for a private criminal defense attorney. A hearing on that very filing is set for next week. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Morgan Chesky, thank you, Morgan. An emotional day in court during the high-profile murder trial of Lindsay Clancy. The 35-year-old mother breaking down into tears yesterday during testimony about 2 of her children's autopsies.
And what about injuries?
Hi, Counsel.
Clancy was removed from the courtroom a few minutes later during a recess. Yesterday brought renewed focus on the killings of her 3 children. Doctors from the state medical examiner's office testified about the autopsies of those children. Joining us now, NBC News correspondent Stephen Romo and legal analyst Misty Maris. Stephen, it was a tough day in court. What did we hear from those medical examiners?
So they had already gone over the autopsy report from the youngest child, Callan, 8 months old, but they went over those of the 5-year-old Cora and the 3-year-old Dawson, and you could see how tough it was on Lindsay. We cannot see the jury, but also, of course, tough on them as well. This really called to show why the prosecutors pushed so hard to have these autopsies photos shown in court and go through this, even though Lindsay is conceding that she did kill these children, because just the details we heard about the asphyxia, the strangulation, their manner of death, and what it actually took, and the damage that was done to their bodies seems to have been effective in that regard. But for the defense, pointing out that deliberate actions don't necessarily rule out psychosis. That's something we've heard from prosecutors about the intense planning that they say Lindsay did here, but having a break from reality doesn't necessarily rule that out.
Misty, it was an emotional day for Clancy. You heard her say there, I can't do this, or something to that effect. How difficult is that how does a jury navigate an event like that?
So the defense actually objected to both medical examiners taking the stand, saying we already conceded to these facts. And Lindsay Clancy having a visible and audible reaction, even watching the trial through the feed, Christine, we could see it. Those in the courtroom must have really felt it as well. The judge acknowledging that this is clearly an emotional situation and actually taking the time to instruct the jury that they are not to be moved and make a determination based on emotion. They are to look at the evidence when making their ultimate decision on this case. So very clearly, the judge was acutely aware of the situation in the courtroom and how it could be impacting the jury.
And Stephen, walk us through the questions raised about whether Lindsay Clancy was coached to say that she had heard voices before the killing.
Yeah, this is very interesting. The prosecutors were questioning a state trooper who reported that he heard about a doctor allegedly coaching Lindsay about a voice. This is a route of investigation that they were taking here. This did not go as far as to prove that she was coached by anyone or told to say that. It ended up being just prosecutors hearing that there was a theory to investigate whether or not she had been coached to do it. And I do think we'll hear more about this voice, this alleged voice, as the trial goes on.
And Misty, the prosecution is expected to rest its case sometime next week. Then it's the defense's turn. What are you going to be watching for?
So, as Stephen said, these are auditory hallucinations. That's going to be part of this case, that commanding voice that she heard. Dr. Paul Zeisel, this is the doctor that came and met with her through a defense court order in the hospital. There's also two experts who will talk about the severity of her injuries, that it was a legitimate suicide attempt, and one expert that we don't know, the judge is still on the fence, toxicology and standard of care that Lindsay had from all of these providers. We don't know if that one will testify, but we're going to have an expert-heavy case on the defense side.
There were a lot of providers and a lot of prescriptions.
A lot.
And a lot of my chart action.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to go through there. Nice to see both of you. Stephen Romo, Misty Maris, thank you. Coming up, the latest on the parasite outbreak tied to lettuce. Now more than 20,000 cases nationwide. Plus, we're live in the Middle East as Pakistan claims there's movement on a possible peace deal between the U.S. and Iran. We'll get you current right after this. From the spread of cyclospora to a rescue on a mountain, let's get you current on the other headlines we're following today. Let's start with a hearing postponed today for the Tate brothers. Andrew and Tristan Tate are fighting extradition to the UK, where they face allegations of human trafficking, rape, and assault. The Tates are among the world's most polarizing influencers, known for their promotion of wealth and misogyny. More than 24,000 cases of cyclosporiasis have now been reported across the U.S. The CDC says the number of new cases appears to be slowing, but the total is expected to keep rising because of a 6-week reporting lag. The outbreak, linked to iceberg lettuce, has spread to at least 15 states. In Las Vegas, a climber is safe after a helicopter rescue from Lone Mountain. The climber got stuck on the south face and called 911, saying they couldn't hold on for much longer. Air Rescue responded and lifted the climber off the mountain. Rescuers say the person wasn't quite prepared for that kind of climb. Now to the war with Iran. The U.S. and Iran are apparently close to an arrangement on the Strait of Hormuz. Pakistan's defense minister is telling Bloomberg that things are shaping up. Now, President Trump is again repeating the U.S. has total control over the Strait of Hormuz. He claims that the U.S. blockade is being dubbed a wall of steel by, quote, everyone, and that there is nothing Iran can do about it. But just hours ago, Iran's foreign minister warned the U.S. has long miscalculated this war. He says there's an even bigger miscalculation over the strait. Joining us now from Saudi Arabia, NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons. So, Keir, what is this miscalculation that they're talking about?
Well, I think it's from Iran's perspective, and what they're trying to say effectively is that the US is calculating that if it puts more pressure on Iran, it can get the deal over the Strait of Hormuz closer to what it wants. And that's the Iranians saying, we won't capitulate on that. We won't bend on that. Now, the situation with the Strait of Hormuz in terms of negotiations, remember, Christine, that it's been between Iran and Oman with countries like Saudi Arabia and the US ultimately in the background. It appears to be that they do have some kind of an agreement to manage vessels through different entry and exit points, that they do seem to have been talking about not charging for the first 6 months at least, multiple different aspects of this, but it hasn't been announced. And the reason I think it hasn't been announced is because I think the Iranians have dug their heels in again and have said that they want more, and ultimately the US, Trump administration, I think that's part of what that President Trump's post there that you were referring to is about, have said they're not prepared to budge. So, we've gone from a kind of hot war to a cold war in a certain kind of sense, with it being less about a war over strength and more about a war over will, and a battle of wills, and a battle of who's able to endure the longest time with that strait closed.
This has been a deal on the strait has been elusive. I mean, last week we heard from the Treasury Secretary, from the President, that they were close. It was going to be in a day or two. It just hasn't happened yet. You're in Saudi Arabia for that meeting of the Multinational Maritime Coalition. What are they hoping to resolve here?
Yeah, by the way, I think they are close. It's just inevitably with a negotiation, the last part is the hardest part. In terms of being here in Saudi Arabia, it's interesting because we're here, as you can see, the Red Sea is off the coast here, and further away, for people who know their geography, is the Bab al-Mandeb, which is another shipping lane that is now being threatened, this time by the Houthis, who of course are Iran-backed. And in fact, a Saudi official tells me that the Iranians are actively helping the Houthis with this, supervising. And what the Houthis are doing are threatening the shipping here. So here, it's gone from a maximum of 140 ships a day, right the way down to sometimes as low as 20. It's another challenge. This is what the Saudis are dealing with. And the reason we're talking about it is because, as you can imagine, it's another factor, and there are multiple, that are putting pressure on the price of oil, price of commodities, ultimately impacting potentially the price at the pump and inflation back home.
Yeah, and these Gulf states scrambling to find other ways to ship literally liquid gold. Keir Simmons, thank you so much. Nice to see you. Today, voters cast their ballots in a local parliamentary election in the UK that is gaining attention across the globe. It pits Nigel Farage, a populist politician who backed Brexit, against a man in a trash can known as Count Binface. NBC News international correspondent Janice Mackey-Frayer has more.
A political showdown in a seaside town is pitting one of Britain's most divisive politicians, Nigel Farage, against, well, a trash can.
Yeah, my name's Count Binface, and I've entered the race with Clacton's new MP.
Meet Count Binface, a self-proclaimed galactic space warrior and comedian who emerged in body armor as Farage's main rival in a special election that came to epitomize voter discontent here.
Thanks, buddy. You want somebody new who will stand up for you.
Some of Count Binface's policies are a bit out there, like building at least one affordable house, nationalizing the British singer Adele, and capping the price of croissants.
And of course, move the hand dryer in the gents' toilets at the Crown and Treaty pub Uxbridge to a more sensible position. Because as you can imagine, that's a national issue.
The vote comes as Nigel Farage finds himself in a political bind, facing an investigation over not declaring a multi-million-dollar gift from a crypto billionaire before he was elected to Parliament in 2024. Farage denied doing anything wrong and resigned, saying voters should determine if he keeps his job.
I've decided that the people of Clacton should be the judges of my actions. This will be a people versus the establishment by-election.
But mainstream party candidates boycotted the special election, accusing Farage of playing political games.
Nigel Farage is having a hissy fit because the first time he's actually having to deal with some real scrutiny.
Enter Count Binface, whose real name is John Harvey. He's no stranger to the sort of trash talk that comes with politics, having run against prime ministers before. Yet this time, Binface has oddly been gaining support as the ultimate protest vote.
Who are you voting for?
Binface.
Binface. Binface. Absolutely. 100%. Is that because you want Count Binface to be your elected representative in Parliament?
I have looked at his manifesto and there is a lot of rubbish in there, don't get me wrong.
Is it basically a vote against Farage?
It's a vote against Farage.
Still, Farage, an ally of President Trump, appears unlikely to be thrown out by a garbage can. Farage's strong positions on immigration and Brexit building momentum for his populist right-of-centre Reform Party.
Who am I voting for? Nigel Farage, of course. He's the best, simply the best.
Regardless of the election's outcome, the unlikely rise of Count Binface captures a mood here among those worn down by politics, finding a laugh and maybe a bit of hope that even a man in a can might change things. Janice Mackey-Frayer, NBC News, London.
All right, we have some breaking news out of Washington right now. You're looking at live pictures from the Department of Justice, where Attorney General Todd Blanche is addressing the DOJ workforce for the first time since he was sworn in a few days ago. We're monitoring those remarks, and we'll bring you any news. When we come back, the new lawsuit facing Trump's media company, why it's being sued over charging for early access to the president's words. Plus, a rare interview with John Hinckley, the man who tried to kill Ronald Reagan, what he said about his mental illness and his fixation on actress Jodie Foster. We'll get to current after this. This morning, President Trump is being sued over his social media company's efforts to sell early access to his social media posts. The president, of course, announces military, political, government, business decisions via his social media platform, a platform that essentially serves as White House communications, and those words do move markets. The lawsuit claims this is unconstitutional. At least 10 trading firms have signed up to pay $100,000, up to $100,000 a month for early access to the president's words. Joining us now is Justin Levitt, a law professor at Loyola University. The group suing here, the Intercept and Freedom of the Press Foundation, they filed this suit claiming Trump API, that's the name of this effort, it violates the First Amendment's guarantee of equal public access. Do they have a case?
Oh, they've got a very good case. I think there are some issues where the legal and ethical questions are nuanced and complicated, and this is not one of them. The president breaks news on Truth Social and breaks news quite a bit, and he's promising to charge access for that breaking news, to release that news selectively to people who pay him and his company an awful lot of money. And that's a basic violation of constitutional principles. It's admittedly unprecedented. We've never had a president this involved in commerce before and profiting from his government service. And we've certainly never had a president with his own media company attempting to profit from that. But the First Amendment, the Fifth Amendment say you can't treat public information unequally. And that's exactly what he's doing here.
To that point about we've never had a president profiting personally off of what he says in the White House. This is what the filing says. The scheme is profoundly corrupt. The president stands to gain financially by giving market-moving government information to those who are willing and able to pay his personal company. There is no precedent here. Wall Street stands to gain. They want a little bit of an edge on the information so you can buy or sell securities. The president clearly stands to gain because it's $100,000 up to going into the coffers of his own company. I guess, how does the factor that the president is actually making money on this factor into this case?
It is, again, new for us that we allow a president to make money off of his government service, but it speaks directly to a, I think, profoundly corrupt phrasing is exactly right. A profoundly corrupt situation where you have the potential for criminal market manipulation that the president's company is feeding in acting on advance interests, advance information against the rest of us. I mean, that's really the important thing here, is that we all are due access to public information. And this scheme would only give that information to some people, the people who are willing to pay the president a premium for it.
Yeah, a spokesman for the company says, like, this is what tech companies do. You monetize data, but this is a company who broadcasts the president's words. It's just totally different there. We'll watch this case for sure. Justin Levitt, thank you so much. All right, the man who tried to assassinate President Ronald Reagan 4 decades ago is now speaking out in a rare interview. John Hinckley Jr., who is now free, said on a podcast that he has changed since that 1981 shooting. He says mental illness led him to open fire on Reagan as a way to get the attention of actress Jodie Foster. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk is following this story for us. Stephanie?
In a nearly hour-long interview on the Mark Joseph Show, Hinckley says he had been experiencing depression and delusions at the time that he carried out that shooting. He also gave a glimpse into what his life has been like since and offered a message for Jodie Foster, who, at just 18 and a relative newcomer to Hollywood, found herself in the middle of a terrifying and bizarre assassination attempt.
45 years after he tried to kill President Reagan, John Hinckley Jr. says he's a changed man.
I had a dark heart in 1981, and I've overcome that.
In a rare and lengthy interview, the would-be assassin says he admired Reagan, but still chose to target him outside the Washington Hilton Hotel.
I just was able to stand there, and nobody was even paying attention to me.
A shooting that left Reagan and 3 others seriously wounded. All an attempt, Hinckley says, to get the attention of actress Jodie Foster.
I think I understand.
Who starred alongside Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver, a film where she played an underage trafficked prostitute and where De Niro's character attempts an assassination.
I wanted to have this union with Jodie Foster.
Hinckley, who's now free after being found not guilty by reason of insanity and spending 3 decades in a psychiatric institution, offering this message for Foster, who he doesn't know.
I wish Jodie well and hope she has a good life.
The interview revealing and shocking at times as Hinckley describes a correspondence with serial killer Ted Bundy in the 80s and similarities he found with Mark David Chapman, who killed John Lennon.
It was a huge thing when John was killed. It kind of just sent me over the edge to where I never came back.
Now at 71, Hinckley has no restrictions on his freedom and says he spends his days making music and art.
I sell my little cat paintings. I certainly don't make a lot of money, but it's enough just to, pay my bills.
In the decade since, Jodie Foster has rarely talked about the attack on Reagan. At the time, Foster was just 18, enrolled at Yale and performing in a stage play. She says the event is likely a reason she hasn't done theater since. Speaking in 1981, Foster said she received multiple letters from Hinckley, but never saw or met him.
I want to get back to a normal life as quickly as possible. I'm an actress, and that's what I love doing.
Reps for Foster did not comment about this new podcast interview. Hinckley says he believes estrangement from his family at the time led to isolation, depression, and delusions, but says he is now close with his surviving relatives, though he also added none of them, including his mother, who he cared for after his release, has ever asked him about the shooting. Back to you.
All right. Stephanie Gosk, thanks for that. All right, from black market weight loss drugs to a Powerball win, let's get you financially current on the other headlines we're following today. Taking a look at the markets right now, the Dow is up about 91 points. Important news on inflation. Factory level prices unchanged in July from June. More ahead in our next hour. Eli Lilly is suing 6 companies alleging they're selling black market versions of its weight loss drug. The companies include compounding pharmacies, medical spas, and online retailers. The FDA says online sellers are using a loophole to allow sales of experimental drugs that are not approved. Lilly plans to submit its weight loss drug to the FDA for approval by the end of the year. And there was one lucky winner of the 8th largest jackpot in Powerball history last night at this Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh. This is a little gas station in Quincy, Illinois. A single ticket matched all 6 numbers to win the $1.04 billion prize. The cash value, about $450 million. The jackpot resets to $20 million for the next drawing. All right, still ahead, the huge $12 billion deal to buy the Los Angeles Lakers. The new reaction from star Luka Doncic. And next hour, a disturbing report on sailors aboard the USS Lincoln trying to jump overboard. The new questions about the conditions on that ship. We have more current right after this. All right, this is now the largest sale of a pro sports franchise ever. And according to one of the buyers, the multi-billion-dollar deal came together in just 3 days. Former Disney CEO Bob Iger and Josh Kushner, the brother of Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, are buying the LA Lakers for $12.5 billion. They are purchasing this historic franchise from Mark Walter, who only bought his share in the team 10 months ago. What a flip. Joining us now is NBC News Now contributor Baker Machado. He's also the host of Front Office Sports Today. Okay, this is, first of all, what are you hearing prompted this sale?
Okay, so I want to start sort of the timeline of how this all started. So the NBA right now, Christine, is looking at expanding to add 2 new teams within the next couple of years in Seattle and Las Vegas. Bob Iger, after he left as CEO of Disney, joined Thrive Capital, this venture capital firm, with Joshua Kushner, and they were looking into getting the Las Vegas team. Now, from reports that we've been hearing, that Vegas franchise was going to go from anywhere from $10 to $12 billion. Apparently, according to the reports out there, Bob Iger made a phone call to Mark Walter, who we should note also owns the Los Angeles Dodgers as well, on Friday. And apparently he found out that this was up for sale, or there was an offer that he couldn't refuse. And Walter took the basically $12.5 billion sale from the Kushner Iger firm to get this done. What's interesting in all of this is Mark Walter, as you mentioned, just got this team 14 months ago from the Buss family at $10 billion, which was a record back then for this sale. Now, what we don't know in this particular situation is why Mark Walter is deciding to sell the team. Mark Walter's firm owns a bunch of investment properties and insurance companies right now, is under federal investigation right now for tax fraud. What we don't know if that is contributing to that. Bloomberg is reporting right now that the money that Mark Walter is going to be making on this sale is going to be paying down some of those debts. So that is something interesting to watch here.
$12.5 billion is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is just a lot of money. The agreement needs to be approved by the NBA, which will meet next month. Any reason to believe it won't be approved?
No, not at all. Just given the fact that Bob Iger and Joshua Kushner were one of the finalists for the Vegas franchise. Now, we should note, Christine, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver has not commented on this so far. We're still awaiting word from that. But sources close to a lot of the owners right now are shocked at this news because everybody expected that Mark Walter was going to keep the the LA Lakers. This, by the way, doesn't impact his team ownership of the Dodgers. He also owns the WNBA franchise there as well, the Las Vegas Sparks as well. Those teams, it sounds like he is still going to be keeping at this moment, but still something to keep an eye on.
This is a really transitional season for the Lakers, given LeBron James is moving to the 76ers. Are we hearing anything from the players?
Right now, Luka Doncic, the star of the the Los Angeles Lakers, is the only one that has commented so far. And Jeannie Buss, the governor of the team, has basically reposted his statement saying that he is in full support of Bob Iger and Joshua Kushner taking over the team. We should note Luka Doncic is going to be playing under his 5th new owner in his years in the NBA. So this is going to be quite the transition. We should also know Bob Iger famously is a Clippers fan, buying the Los Angeles Lakers. So that is another thing to watch here as well.
I mean, Bob Iger in the sports world, I mean, he and his wife also already own another team, a women's soccer team.
Yes, the NWSL Angel City FC team as well. And his wife famously had been an NBA television host in her previous life as well. And Bob Iger has talked about wanting to get involved into sports franchises as well. And he does, as his time as CEO of Disney, have an extensive relationship with the NBA, given ESPN's coverage of the league for so many years.
All right, Baker Machado, nice to see you. Thank you so much. What a story. All right, in Georgia, authorities are searching for an arsonist who was caught on camera allegedly setting fire to a home with 6 people inside. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch has the video.
The search for an alleged arsonist, as new video appears to capture a person dragging a flaming object, briefly dropping it, then tossing it into the garage of a Georgia home. Moments later, the Ring camera video obtained by our Atlanta affiliate WXIA shows the individual, their face seemingly covered, swing something else toward the garage before leaving. Soon after, the Lawrenceville home looked like this. Authorities say that fire was arson, and they want the public's help finding whoever is responsible.
All I heard was orange flames and pop, 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 pop.
Christopher Hammond and his 5 roommates were inside their home early last Wednesday, about 30 miles outside Atlanta. Some were sleeping, but Hammond says he happened to be up later than usual.
I started yelling, guy, for the people upstairs. I started yelling their names.
Authorities say firefighters arrived just before 5:30 a.m., the home partially collapsing with no injuries reported.
Then I start running and I see the fire coming out from the garage.
Another roommate, Dakota Perry, shocked by the Ring video.
And we were just like, that's crazy.
It wasn't just a random fire.
Jesse Kirsch, NBC News.
All right, there's much more news ahead. The next hour of Current starts right now. And good morning. It's 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. on the West Coast. I'm Christine Romans. Let's get you current. Extreme weather, flash flood emergencies across the Midwest. We are live in hard-hit Indiana. Search for survivors. We're on the ground with rescue efforts in Colombia's earthquake disaster zone. Mental health crisis, disturbing reports of conditions on board the USS Lincoln during an extended deployment. Stepping down, Caroline Leavitt's tenure as press secretary ending. So who could replace her? And so good to be with you this Thursday, August 13th. We've got a lot of news to get to this morning. Let's begin this hour with breaking news in the Midwest. Look at this wild footage out of Indiana. Playgrounds transformed into water parks, homes and cars submerged, and crews yesterday navigating flooded streets by boats while they carry out emergency water rescues. The storm's knocking out power to hundreds of thousands across the region. At least 3 people have been killed in this week's storms. Meteorologist Angie Lastman will have the forecast in just a moment, but we begin with NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa for us in Indiana. Maggie, this is tough here. Water levels slowly starting to come down. More rain in the forecast you told us last hour. I guess this qualifies as a 1,000-year flood event, the amount of rainfall over the past 24 hours. What are you hearing from people?
That they're blown away at what they're seeing, how much rain came in, how fast it came. Everyone's telling us the same thing. I've never seen it get that bad. I mean, just a really quick, again, you point out the water levels are coming down. That's true, and thank goodness for that. You can see neighborhoods like this one still completely flooded, though. That school bus stuck back there on the left-hand side, that obviously hasn't moved for more than 24 hours. The red house over here, we showed you that in the last hour, people wading through the water to get to their cats. They tell us multiple pets inside that home, in fact, passed away. I talked to the man, and he cried as he told me it, and we're hearing a lot of stories like that. And in fact, if we can play this video now, this is coming to you first on Current. I went into a home with a couple who were seeing their house for the first time since it flooded. They opened the door, and Brooke, the mom, just started to cry. She audibly sobbed, and she just kept saying over and over, we've worked our whole lives for this. They were telling us they have 6 kids. They had to swim out of their home yesterday morning to get away from the floodwaters. Everything is covered in mud. Everything's turned upside down, flipped over, floors caved in, destroyed. Talked to her a little bit about what it was like to take it in. Here's part of our conversation.
Everything's gone. My kids' school supplies are in that closet, gone. Their clothes, they didn't even leave with shoes on or clothes because they were asleep.
Christine, it was just one of those conversations that will stick with me for a long time. We're going to step out of the way here because we've got first responders coming through. That's a sheriff's deputy truck. There you can see we have first responders here on the ground. We also have utility crews kind of over behind our camera over here doing their best to work through this, start to repair the damage. But I mean, that couple's story, that, Christine, is kind of the story of the day. That mom, after our interview, she was just running around saying, I don't even know where my kids' shoes are, what sizes they're all wearing these days. I have to find them shoes. And it was just, realizing how much work lays ahead of them, and how devastating this truly has been.
Yeah, it's still a danger out there. As the waters recede, there's still just a lot of debris there. Everyone needs to be real careful. Maggie, thank you so much to you and your crew. Joining us now, NBC News meteorologist Angie Lassman. Angie, 23 million people under flood watches today. That's the last thing these communities need. How much more rain is coming?
Yeah, unfortunately, Christine, we've got additional rainfall over some of those areas, even where Maggie is right now. They're going to see kind of repeated patterns over the next day or so. We've already got the flood watches up across parts of Iowa, stretching all the way to West Virginia. This morning, we're most active across really Iowa with those stronger thunderstorms. So the heavy rain, the lightning, all on the table. And we do still have that thunderstorm watch for eastern and southern parts of Iowa. That's going to last at least through 11 a.m. Central Time. But I wouldn't be surprised if more of these alerts come as the day goes on. Here's why. We've got additional scattered showers and thunderstorms across some of those same regions, parts of the plains and the Midwest as we go through the day today. And by the way, we do have a moderate risk of more of that flooding across parts of Indiana that saw the really impressive rainfall amounts, more than a foot in some spots. We've got additional rainfall on the way today, so we are really concerned about the flooding, especially when you consider that there's another chance for some of that as we get through the day tomorrow. Here's the amounts that we could expect, maybe an inch to 3 inches more widespread, but some spots, Christine, that really can't handle it, potentially upwards of 5 inches in some locations.
And we've got, Angie, heat alerts up now for more than, 70 million people today? How high are those temps expected to climb?
Yes, I'm a broken record with this. We've still got temperatures kind of surpassing the dangerous levels that when you consider those heat-related impacts. This is 68 million people across the country that could see those health impacts. And then when you look where the purple is, that's an extreme risk. 10 million people are talking about this long duration heat event where we are concerned about health related risks. And unfortunately, this is not ending anytime soon. We've still got temperatures into the 90s today, triple digits in some spots, feeling like the triple digits across much of this region here, even as we get through tomorrow and into the weekend as well.
And what you're also tracking a tropical storm that has just been named.
Yes, as if we don't have enough to worry about when it comes to weather. We've got Tropical Storm Lala in the Pacific. This is going to be something that Hawaii has to deal with as we get into the weekend. Just barely a tropical storm, but we are expecting this to strengthen and become a hurricane by the time we get into the weekend, potentially, and leaving folks in Hawaii dealing with just massive amounts of rain as well. Up to 20 inches in some spots. The mudslides, the flooding, all a concern there. We'll also see the waves. We know our friends in Hawaii love to get the waves, but we're going to have some concerns when it comes to flooding as well with this.
Okay. Angie Lassman, thanks for all that, Angie.
Of course.
To breaking news now, an extended deployment at sea may be taking a toll on the mental health of military members. New reporting says 5,000 sailors and Marines have been aboard a San Diego-based Navy aircraft carrier for 250 days. They are supporting the war with Iran. Families say their loved ones are beginning to deal with food shortages, plumbing problems, and those mounting mental health concerns. Now, lawmakers are pressing the Pentagon for answers as families question when they'll come home. NBC News intelligence reporter Dan DeLuce joins us now. Dan, what specifically are you hearing is happening aboard this ship?
Well, you're hearing the families complain and really conveying serious concerns to Navy officials. There was a recent meeting with Navy leadership in San Diego, and these families were saying, listen, our loved ones are really struggling. Morale is low. The ship has not had a call to a port. Usually about every month, a carrier will stop at a port, and it does give the crew a bit of a brief break. And they have not had that. 250 consecutive days at sea. So there's a serious morale problem. There are supplies shortages as well. And then, of course, keep in mind that there's a war going on in the Middle East. So the ship can't go and get supplies quite as easily as it could usually, because you have Iranian missiles and drones that are threatening a lot of those areas in the Middle East. And keep in mind, this is a wider problem. There are wider concerns about a kind of readiness, morale, a crisis more broadly across the military, because this war is now dragging on now for 6 months, and I don't think that was anticipated when it started.
Lawmakers are now pressing the Pentagon for answers. What are you learning from them?
This is mainly coming from Democrats. That's right. They are talking to these families as well, and they're saying, they need more information, and the Navy and the military need to be more transparent about what is going on. When is that ship coming home, really, is the big question, the big problem. And keep in mind, though, that Democrats don't have a majority in either chamber. So after the midterms, if the majority were to flip in the House, you could see investigations.
What is the Navy saying in response to these concerns, these accusations, and have they indicated when the Lincoln will be headed home?
So they say they're hearing these concerns loud and clear. They're saying they have to set priorities, and they look at, hygiene, food, and so on, and then mail comes at a lower priority. And they also said this. They said they have not seen an increase in suicidal ideation on the ship or attempts at suicide on the vessel. That's their statement on that. But I think this issue is not going away, and we're going to hear more.
Dan DeLuce, thank you so much for the reporting. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health or suicidal thoughts, help is available. Call or text 988. In Colombia, rescuers and volunteers are still holding out hope now that the crucial 72-hour window to find survivors is closing. Now, the death toll, 265 after Monday's powerful earthquake. Thousands are still missing. NBC News correspondent George Solis is in Cali, Colombia, with the latest efforts on the ground.
This morning in Western Colombia, it's a race against time, with rescuers and many volunteers working around the clock, searching for survivors through aftershocks and grueling heat. This couple using special microphones designed to pick up the slightest sounds in collapsed buildings.
No hay otra forma.
We haven't slept, but we're waiting, trying to help, she tells me. Rescue operations only pausing when they pick up any trace of life. In Cali, 23-year-old Christian Menendez is clinging to hope his friends will be found, even as the odds of rescue grow slim. None of us have lost faith, he says. We're all here for them. The risks are great. This rescuer had to be rescued himself after falling through the cracks of a collapsed apartment building. New images of the quake's destructive power emerging too. Passengers filming at a regional airport when shattered glass comes down on the tarmac. The death toll now soaring above 260. At this hospital, doctors feeling the pressure. We're broken, Dr. Karen Ruiz tells me. Her colleague, Dr. Claudia Gomez, says her team has treated more than 100 patients. It's not one person, we're all a family, she tells us. Our clinic responded with everything we have. This patient, grateful to be alive. John Solarte recalls the floor at work violently shaking. He tried to run for safety, but fell, breaking his knee. Across the country, we're witnessing incredible acts of humanity. And it's not just when people are rescued. This crowd's celebrating after firefighters pulled a trapped dog to safety. A small victory in this very big disaster zone. George Solis, NBC News.
A major change is coming to the press podium in the West Wing. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is preparing to leave the role, stepping down at the end of this month to spend more time with her young family. President Trump announcing the news on social media, calling Leavitt one of the best White House press secretaries in the history of the office. At 28, she's the youngest ever to hold that job and one of Trump's most visible and vocal defenders. NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba joins us now. Monica, Leavitt has only been back from maternity leave for about a month. What are you hearing about the timing and what led her decision to step down so soon after her return?
Yeah, we really can't overstate how key she is to the president's inner circle. She's one of his fiercest defenders, but she did have a baby daughter welcoming her in early May. And when she came back from leave, she writes, in her opinion, she just felt like in her heart, according to her, in her own words, she couldn't be the mom that she wanted to be to her two young kids. That is what she wrote in a statement. And so instead, she's basically going to be continuing this role in a different way from the outside. So she won't be the White House press secretary. She won't have to deal with those kinds of pressures and time constraints, she says. Instead, according to the president, she is going to be representing him and be a key messenger for him ahead of the midterm elections, which gives her a little bit more flexibility in terms of what she can say since she won't be a government employee. But this is going to be a massive hole to fill for this White House, for this administration, certainly.
I mean, tough shoes to fill. I mean, she tap dances up there with the best of them. She is really effective in that job, and the president clearly had a lot of faith in her. She has become one of his most visible defenders in the second administration. Is there any indication who could try to fill that role?
Yeah, and that's a question that we all asked when she did go on maternity leave recently. And the White House and the way they handled it is maybe instructive in how they're thinking about it now, which is they didn't feel that there was some kind of replacement waiting in the wings or somebody who could jump in there from her own team. Instead, they had cabinet secretaries like Scott Bessent, like Marco Rubio, and even Vice President Vance at times going up there and doing sort of their own guest appearance at the podium in the White House briefing room. So we'll see if that's what they do in a couple of weeks. She's supposed to leave at the end of August as they sort out whether they will have an official replacement. I'm told there's no immediate plan to announce that now.
All right, Monica Alba, thank you so much for that, Monica. All right, some economic data to report this morning. The producer price index was unchanged in July from June. The PPI, as it's called, is how the Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks wholesale inflation, meaning what businesses pay each other for goods and services. The latest data does show that prices are still up 4.7% from a year ago. Joining us now, NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung. And I think a lot of that jargon can be a mouthful for people. They're like, what is this supposed to mean? But what's really important, I think, here is that 4.7% number, because when we don't talk about inflation, it's like 2%. When we don't feel it and it's not bad, it's like 2%. 4.7% means that at the factory floor, on the factory floor, you still have prices up a lot more than last year.
Yeah, and I kind of laugh sometimes because we talk so much about all of these acronyms, CPI, PPI, PCE. It's like, what are we talking about here? PPI, we pay so much attention to because it's essentially how much the companies that we buy from pay to get the things that they sell to us. So again, this is wholesalers. This might be what Costco pays for the items that they then sell to us. So when we pay attention to these numbers, we see 4.7%. That means that the places that we buy from are likely paying 4.7% more for those goods that they then sell to us. And I want to point out that we also look at the monthly figures, the monthly changes, specifically with this number. It was unchanged between June and July, which was below what economists were expecting.
It didn't get worse.
It didn't get worse, but it also didn't get better. And I think that's something that shows a little bit of caution in this economy.
So we heard the CPI earlier this week.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about where things stand with inflation at the moment from your perspective.
Yeah, well, look, 3.4%, that was the figure on consumer prices. That is the more relevant number to you and me, whereas the PPI is more for those retailers that sell to us. But I think the concern here, Christine, and we've been talking a lot about this, inflation right now, basically since the beginning of this summer, has been outpacing wages. So prices at the store are going up by 3.4% over the last year. Wages have only increased by 3.2% over that period of time. What does that mean? People are probably eroding from their savings to make ends meet. That's something that's not going to help the affordability issue.
And that's the takeaway for the average American family. But there's another takeaway we watched, too. The Federal Reserve, the nation's central bank, it can move this benchmark interest rate up or down, depending on what's happening in the economy. Do we think that these inflation numbers and the most recent job numbers we saw will move cause the Fed to move interest rates?
Well, I think the way we described it just a few seconds ago is kind of apt, right? Inflation's not getting worse from here, but it's also not getting better. So it's not mission accomplished for the central bank. But because the numbers weren't worse, that has kind of tamped down on some of the expectations for an interest rate hike. If you'd rewind to about a month ago, the odds were essentially a coin flip that they would hike interest rates or they would hold steady. After the PPI report, more specifically that CPI report earlier this week, it does seem like the Fed is now more likely to hold interest rates pat. But one big wild card is this new guy that's in charge, right? Kevin Warsh. We don't know exactly how he looks at all of this data. He's kind of been very close to the chest in terms of how he looks at the economy. That could be very much a wild card for that next meeting.
And of course, it all matters to the American kitchen table, because if you start raising interest rates again, it costs more to borrow money. It makes already kind of expensive mortgages more expensive.
That's right.
That's why it all matters. All right, Brian, nice to see you. Thank you.
Yep.
Coming up, a new hearing set for tomorrow in the federal trial of Luigi Mangione. Is a plea deal now on the table? Plus, new video shows an ICE agent pulling a gun on a Virginia woman through the window of her car. How DHS is defending the officer's actions. And later, lawmakers are trying to crack down on prediction markets for placing bets on deadly wildfires in California. We'll get you current after the break. Accused CEO killer Luigi Mangione will be back in court tomorrow for an unexpected hearing. It's raising new questions about a possible plea deal in his federal case. Back in June, the 28-year-old's legal team talked to prosecutors about a potential deal. That's according to sources who spoke to NBC New York. That deal reportedly fell through. Earlier this week, Mangione was in court for the final pretrial hearing in his state case. Mangione has pleaded not guilty to all charges, including second-degree murder. Joining us now, NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos. Prosecutors and the defense jointly requested this hearing tomorrow. Danny, can you read the tea leaves for us? What does it need all of the signal to you?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but this could be a change of plea hearing, which means Mangione could be coming in to plead guilty. We don't know yet, and it might not be that. But if it is, it would be surprising to me because it means to me that the defense is likely pursuing a gambit, and this is it. I believe if they plead guilty in federal court tomorrow, the plan is to then argue that the New York state case is precluded not by federal double jeopardy, but by New York's own double jeopardy statute, which is actually broader than the federal double jeopardy protection.
So you see a big strategy here.
Absolutely. And they forecast this in some of their own motions. But here's the thing. It's not a guarantee. That same statute, that double jeopardy statute, contains exceptions to the rule. And so you can bet that the Manhattan DA's office is going to argue, no, some of these exceptions apply. These are different crimes. That's essentially what they have to argue. You know, the federal case is stalking. This, in New York State court, is murder. Therefore, they're not the same. So New York's double jeopardy law does not apply. If that gamble doesn't work, and if that's what they're planning, then they're going to plead guilty to a federal crime and then be walking right into a murder trial in state court.
Mangione himself has raised this question of double jeopardy. If the federal case ends with a plea, I mean, I don't know. I mean, game that out for me.
Well, that's considered a resolution. It has the same preclusive effect for double jeopardy purposes. It is a final. It's like a verdict. So you are essentially, it's a trial for purposes of double jeopardy. But don't get me wrong. The Manhattan DA's office has a few arguments up their sleeve. And the key is this. Generally speaking, double jeopardy doesn't apply if they are different crimes. There's a lot of nuances here. But if the Manhattan DA's office can argue that this is a different crime. Stalking happened before the murder, and the murder happened when the murder happened. So these are different. If they can do that, the Manhattan DA's office gets their trial.
All right, Danny Ceballos, just a fascinating twist and turn of events there. We'll watch it. Thanks, Danny. All right, we have breaking news out of New Jersey where a third person has died after being held at the Delaney Hall Migrant Detention Center. Federal officials confirmed the death of a Guatemalan immigrant, Jose Chachon Raxon. They say that he experienced a medical emergency and died after being transferred to a hospital last month. ICE says it was never notified of his death. He is the third migrant to die after being detained at Delaney Hall. New questions this morning after a dash cam video captured an ICE agent pointing a gun at a Virginia woman inside her car. Federal officials accuse the woman of attempting to use her car to harm agents. She disputes that account. Dan Wilder from our NBC Washington station reports.
Yeah, you recorded us. You almost ran us over.
I didn't almost
You almost ran us over.
You're
Stop playing. Stop playing.
You are full of
right?
With a gun drawn, an ICE agent and a Northern Virginia woman argue through her driver's side window Monday afternoon in a Falls Church parking lot.
I will arrest you. Keep it up.
I'm a legal citizen.
I don't care.
Oh, my goodness.
With her car boxed in by ICE vehicles, other agents approach her
I
car.
want to try to run us over.
Run you over when? I got recording. I got dash cam.
She's sharing that dash cam video with News 4. The video starts about 35 seconds before the initial confrontation. The driver is Carolina Molina, a U.S. citizen who says she just witnessed these ICE agents arrest two men on the other side of the parking lot. She says she's angry with ICE, but she wasn't following them. She says she was in the parking lot for work, dropping business cards with immigration lawyers to offer counseling services. She says when she turned around and passed the ICE agents again, she shouted at them from her window.
You're
The video shows her turning right as one of the agents stops and then returns to his vehicle. Moments later, she turns around, and this time, two SUVs approach, one in front and one from the rear.
Are you really?
Are you following this?
No, I'm not.
Are you following?
Tonight, Molina is sharing her story with News 4.
Honestly, I'm scared. I feel more fear now because this situation, I feel like it was uncalled for.
News 4 reached out to ICE for comment, and DHS responded to our request by asking for Molina's video. We directed them to what she's already posted online, and a spokesperson responded telling News 4 in part, quote, an anti-ICE agitator began to drive her car in circles around our ICE officers and then attempted to harm officers by weaponizing her vehicle against them, all in an attempt to help illegal aliens get away. The video Molina shared with News 4 does not corroborate DHS's claim, but News 4 is not able to verify what happened prior to the start of the video, and DHS has not provided News 4 with any other evidence in support of its statement. Still, we asked Molina why she made the comments to the agent in the first place.
Regardless even if I said something, I feel like that is my First Amendment right as an American citizen, and I don't think it calls for this type of excessive force.
The video shows the ICE agent who drew his weapon had his gun in his hand as soon as he stepped out of his vehicle.
Once I picked up my phone and started recording him, that's when the story switched and he started saying, oh, it seems like she's the one that almost ran you over. She's the one that almost ran us over.
The entire interaction depicted in this video, from the time the agent steps out of the car until he gets back into the car to leave, lasts about 50 seconds. Molina says after that, everyone left the parking lot.
All right, Dan Wilder from NBC Washington, thank you. From more construction at the White House to the future of the Kennedy Center, let's get you politically current this morning. We start with embattled Congressman Max Miller, now being sued by his ex-wife. The lawsuit alleges he publicly shared sensitive images of their 2-year-old daughter. Miller has already been facing pressure to resign over domestic abuse allegations, which he has denied. He's also refused to end his race for re-election. The Kennedy Center Board is expected to meet today to discuss the future of the Performing Arts Center. A judge recently blocked a move to close the venue for 2 years to allow for substantial renovations. The board is now made up primarily of Trump appointees. The Kennedy Center project is part of the president's broader push to remake the landscape in the nation's capital. New video appears to show more construction on the new helipad at the White House. Last month, the president announced he was building a granite helipad on the South Lawn with a large carved presidential seal. Crews appear to be reapplying the seal after the Washington Post reported that Trump was, quote, frustrated with its initial appearance. After the break, jury selection to resume in the new social media addiction trial against Meta, when arguments are expected to get underway. And more noise surrounding the WNBA, the legendary women's coach who is now speaking out about the drama taking place off the court. We have more current right after this. From the new trial against Meta to another heat wave for Europe, let's get you current on the other headlines we're following today. Jury selection will resume today in a new federal trial against Meta. This case filed by states who say its platforms have harmed youth mental health. This trial includes just 4 states of 29 who have sued Meta. The trial is expected to begin next week. 3 men are set to be executed today in 3 different states. Alabama, Oklahoma, and Tennessee are all planning executions, making this the first time 3 states have carried out executions on the same day in 16 years. Europe is bracing for another round of extreme heat, with temperatures expected to reach 109 degrees in parts of Spain. It's the 5th heat wave to hit the continent this year, and many residents and tourists say they've had enough. The heat is also bringing drought, water restrictions, and a higher risk of wildfires across parts of Europe. Legendary UConn women's basketball coach Gina Auriemma weighing in on the WNBA's latest controversies. He told our colleagues at Today that the league needs to figure out a way to bring the attention back to the players and that he wants to see the conversation get back to the game. This as Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White is facing new pushback. She was received with a sea of boos at their home game against the New York Liberty this week. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock has the story.
The idea that Stephanie White doesn't support her own players did not sit well with the coach of one of the most prominent teams in the WNBA, the Indiana Fever. So much so that Coach White felt the need to address the record and explain why, after a hard foul on guard Sophie Cunningham, she wasn't more vocal in the moment.
Any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players back? I ride with them 10 toes down all the time. All the time.
Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White at a Fever pitch, responding to those calling for her to be fired over her reaction to this play. Fever guard Sophie Cunningham taking a hard foul from the Chicago Sky's Dejanay Carrington Saturday. That blow to the head and neck, leading to Carrington's automatic ejection, after which she posted the words "white privilege" on social media, though later saying the post wasn't about the assessment of the foul. Coach White's initial reaction to that play ripped by some as too sympathetic to her former player Carrington.
She's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete. Nobody's going to go walking in for a layup.
Some Indiana Fever fans booing their own coach, and White now clarifying her position on Saturday's flagrant foul.
Was it egregious? Absolutely. When you have a chance to watch that over and over and over on replay, you can see that.
The coach also clapping back at those fomenting controversy throughout the WNBA by exploiting tension over issues like transgender athletes and race.
The hate, the fear-mongering, the divisiveness, the stuff that's trying to hijack our league will not win. It won't win.
Through it all, both Cunningham and teammate Caitlin Clark standing by their coach, White making it clear she's not going to let the naysayers divide her from her players.
I stand by them. I will always stand by them. Everybody else can go to hell.
It should be noted that Cunningham herself said that everything is cool in the locker room and that the players never doubted that Coach White has their back. Cunningham has been receiving a lot of attention recently for remarks that she made in an interview with ESPN, where she stated her position that she doesn't believe trans athletes belong in girls and women's sports. That's a backdrop to the latest controversy that has now entangled the Indiana Fever. Sam Brock, NBC News. Back to you.
All right, Sam, thank you so much for that. Back with us this hour is host of Front Office Sports Today, Baker Machado. Walk us through the controversy behind the controversy. It's a bit of an onion to unpeel here. It's not the foul, but the back and forth over the Fever, Sophie Cunningham's comments and how we got into all this.
Yeah, and Sophie Cunningham, you know, no stranger to speaking her mind on a range of issues during her WNBA career. As Sam mentioned, it was all from this July interview she gave with ESPN where she talked about the WNBA and women's sports not having trans athletes in sports. As a result of that, we've seen, protests for and in favor of Sophie Cunningham on the whole last road trip for the Indiana Fever in Seattle, Portland, and just recently in Chicago, where that foul took place just over the weekend. And Gino Auriemma, I spoke to him yesterday, basically said the same thing as Stephanie White. The attention right now should be on the WNBA. In the last few weeks of the season, there's a big playoff push for a lot of these teams right now. This is the highest rated, highest attended season in WNBA history, coming off a historic collective bargaining agreement for the players. So they want the attention going back into the game and not on the culture war issues right now.
WNBA general managers and presidents gathered to discuss this. They had to discuss transgender athletes in the league. This was a task force. They're trying to figure out how to address all of this. Any resolution?
Yeah, we got sort of a statement from the WNBA yesterday. They said basically there are no immediate eligibility matters affecting the WNBA, and we strongly denounce the bad faith efforts to use these topics to demean or marginalize others. They say they're going to continue to talk to team presidents and general managers in the coming weeks and coming months about this particular topic, but they're sort of trying to denounce former NBA players who are now saying that they think that they're eligible right now for the WNBA draft based on some of the nuances in the collective bargaining agreement that explicitly say only women should play in the WNBA, but it says nothing when it comes to gender identity in there.
But that the former NBA players, that's seen as more of is it a publicity stunt?
You could argue that, absolutely, especially because these players have not played in the NBA for many, many years as well. The WNBA draft wouldn't be until April. But again, the WNBA is saying that there are no eligibility issues going on right now, and they're basically trying to put the focus right back onto the season, onto the court.
All right, Baker Machado, fascinating stuff there. Thank you so much. In California, placing online bets on wildfires is sparking new outrage. More than $1 million in bets were placed on prediction markets during last year's deadly Palisades and Eaton fires. Users wagering on how many acres would burn to when the fires. Camilla Rambaldi from our NBC station in Los Angeles shows us how lawmakers now are demanding action.
California has seen some of the most destructive wildfires on record. In January of last year, the Palisades and Eaton fires leveled thousands of homes. 31 people died. Joe Ford's home in Altadena was destroyed in the Eaton fire.
Outrage, to tell you the truth.
Ford sharing his reaction today over new concerns centered around people betting on wildfire predictions on platforms like Polymarket. You can see here some of the bets that were made, including how many acres will Palisades wildfire burn in total, to will all LA wildfires be fully contained by February.
It just feels like you're turning our human suffering and climate disasters into a casino game.
According to this letter from August 3rd to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission chairman, $1.2 million in bets are being tied to both the Palisades and Eaton fires. Senators Alex Padilla and Adam Schiff are pushing back, citing safety and arson concerns.
I think money sometimes wrongly drives whether we make a decision to do something or not. And that's painful for all of our communities.
Lawmakers are now asking the CFTC to place guardrails to prevent gamblers from profiting over wildfires.
Our communities are facing increasingly severe fire seasons, and I think the priority should be on saving lives and supporting victims and not allowing speculators to profit off of our misery.
Camilla Rambaldi, NBC News Now.
Polymarket sent a statement to our Los Angeles station in response to the letter. It reads in part, when tragedy unfolds, people turn to the news for commentary and they come to Polymarket for information. While we are not blind to the risks, removing these markets does not prevent a tragedy, but makes the most accurate information less accessible to the people who need it most. All right, coming up, here comes the groom. Travis Kelce is finally spilling the tea about his star-studded wedding to Taylor Swift. And it's a new take on Hot Girl Summer, but this time a little more fabulous. How recently divorced women are celebrating the season. We'll get you current after this. It was the best night of his life. That's how Travis Kelce is describing his star-studded wedding to Taylor Swift. It's the first time we're hearing from either of the newlyweds since they tied the knot last month. NBC's Kaylee Hartung spills the tea.
Hey there. We have yet to see any photos from inside the most talked about love story of this era. But with NFL training camps underway, there is no hiding from the spotlight for Travis Kelce. As soon as reporters got access to him, he dished on a night straight out of his wildest dreams.
Brand new, married man, Travis Kelce, opening up for the very first time about his star-studded wedding to Taylor Swift at Madison Square Garden.
It was a fun offseason, man. Wedding was the best night of my life.
Kelce, who's back for a 14th season with the Kansas City Chiefs, describing a one-of-a-kind party.
I appreciate everybody who came out and celebrated and, had fun with us. It was a crazy night. It was full of a lot of celebration.
Swift is yet to comment publicly about the big day, but some of her new in-laws, Jason and Kylie Kelce, have shared some tidbits about the lavish event.
Taylor and Travis were fantastic in the ceremony, and then after that, it was just a giant party.
Think about getting to watch your 4 daughters be flower girls.
It's been a little over a month since the streets of Midtown Manhattan shut down for what was dubbed the American Royal Wedding. Fans lining the barricades for hours, analyzing the crates going in and out of the venue, and ogling the A-list arrivals.
I gotta show you this, Tom. Look at that sign up there.
Once the couple's forever and always was official, some details about the highly private wedding trickling out. Guests confirming that Stevie Nicks and Paul McCartney performed and posting photos of the embroidered wedding favors. Chiefs coach Andy Reid relaying that officiant Adam Sandler's message to the couple was keep kissing. And one guest in a since-deleted social media post saying it felt like an outdoor garden at a lush countryside retreat. The newlyweds have not released any official photos from the wedding just yet, but fans are hoping that this promo teasing a return of Travis and Jason's popular New Heights podcast may mean that their most popular guest.
This is my brand new album.
Could come back and spill all the details of the enchanted evening herself.
As for what the rest of the year looked like for the couple, Travis mentioned in the presser that his total focus is on football now, and it's unclear when exactly New Heights is coming back. As for Taylor, we're always on the lookout for new music. She was spotted this summer at a New York City recording studio. Another big question, where do things stand on her first feature film? She announced a few years ago that she's writing and directing a dramedy, but no updates recently. Back to you.
All right, Kaylee Hartung, thank you for that. Not all love stories have a happily ever after, but some newly divorced singles are looking to change that. Call it their Eat, Pray, Love era, or as it's being dubbed on social media, hot divorcee summer. And now brands are cashing in. Joining us now, NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Melas. And Chloe, celebrities really helping change the narrative here.
They are. I mean, from Jennifer Lopez to Drew Barrymore, Kim Kardashian. But get this, Christine, you don't have to be divorced to partake in hot divorcee summer. Take a look. From Drew Barrymore.
Divorce took me years to get over.
To J-Lo.
I had to stop everything, and I took a year off. I canceled tours.
Jessica Alba, Kim Kardashian, and more. All opening up about divorce, helping to prompt a shift in culture and a new trend.
The hot divorcee summer.
Forget brat summer. That's so 2024. The wedding bands are coming off and hot divorcee summer is heating up.
I wanted to look like I belong on a yacht.
Comedian and writer Taddy McLeod believes she helped spark the trend with this cheeky take of a glamorous divorcee.
Are you responsible for the phrase hot divorcee summer?
I believe I am, yes. I didn't expect it to go so global.
It's inspiring people to go out, get those long dresses, wide-brimmed hats, and oversized sunglasses, and channel their inner Jennifer Coolidge from The White Lotus.
I'm in desperate need of a massage.
Emily Ratajkowski was definitely one that stuck out to me. She got the divorce ring, and because of her, I also was empowered and influenced to get my own divorce ring.
After her divorce, 39-year-old Ivanka de Koning moved back in with her old college roommate, who also was recently single.
Rings and diamonds shouldn't be representative of like a love story. It can be more of like you're marrying yourself.
She even threw herself a divorce party filled with champagne and caviar, an event that's become more common, according to Evite, who told us, quote, the steady rise in divorce parties shows a massive cultural shift in how we handle major life transitions. de Koning and others are now leaning into hot divorcee summer, shopping at places like New York-based Bootsy, which is also embracing the movement.
Felt like it was in our ether and something that we were hearing a lot of.
A recent campaign stemmed from chatter they overheard at the store.
And girls being like, I want to wear this to my divorce party.
Bootsy isn't the only place where hot divorcee summer has moved from social feeds to storefronts. High-profile divorce attorney Laura Wasser joined forces with Reformation to launch the Divorce Collection. River Island released a guide for the trend. Twisted Tea launched a new breakup-themed split pack. And even Netflix now has a hot divorcee summer section with movies and shows that fit the part.
Divorce is hard. There is a negative stigma to it. But to see brands and clothing lines kind of like celebrate you, it's like, to me, a sense of empowerment.
And to be part of the movement, a divorce actually isn't even required. McLeod herself says she's happily in a relationship.
It's a vibe. It's not a legal status. It's very much about capturing an essence that I associate with women who are post-marriage.
Meanwhile, for brands, experts say leaning into social media trends like this one can pay off.
This is such a fresh, new target market and a topic that was just been bottled up, and somebody put a pin in that balloon and it exploded.
According to a 2025 Edelman report, 73% of consumers surveyed said a brand that authentically reflects today's culture would be more successful in earning their trust. Fashion icon Cynthia Rowley says her daughters bought her a divorce ring of her own and says she'll keep single people in mind for future inspiration.
I'm proof that there's life on the other side. Honestly, I'm having so much fun. I almost feel guilty how much fun I'm having.
The new trend might help some realize happily ever after has less to do with finding Prince Charming and more to do with finding yourself.
Oh, I love it. It's a vibe, not a legal status. So I guess anyone can have a hot divorcee.
Get your hat out, your glasses this weekend, Christine.
The heart of this, though, is more than a trend, do you think?
I mean, it's about embracing your truest self. And I think what the issue is, though, is brands are always looking for a way to boost their bottom line. So they are looking, whether it's hot girl summer last year, hot divorcee summer this year, what is the next trend going to be? I was asked Taddy McLeod, what does she think it's going to be? She said, widow's winter. I was like, ooh, that's quite dark.
Yes.
But she was like, you know, spookiness and black outfits. So we'll see if that actually becomes a trend. But I will say, though, that you see Twisted Tea, you see Cynthia Rowley, you see even Laura Wasser, this famous divorce attorney, launching the Dump Him sweatshirt that did so well. I think that brands are smart to see what people are talking about on social media. And it's not just things like this. It's also the book Strangers that did so well, topping the New York Times bestseller list this year from Belle Burden. It's a memoir about her own divorce, and it stayed on the top of the list in the #1 spot for 7 weeks. So people are here for honesty when it comes to your relationships.
Interesting. And we know, I think the fastest cohort of people getting divorced are over 50. So interesting. All right. Nice to see you. Thanks so much. After the break, owning a home may seem out of reach to many Americans. In today's edition of 50 States in 50 Days, we're going to show you how one nonprofit is helping open the door for first-time buyers. In our series, 50 States in 50 Days, we're introducing you to the people making a difference in their communities. Today, we're in Connecticut, where owning a home can feel completely out of reach. Matt Austin from our NBC Connecticut station shows us how one nonprofit is opening the door for first-time buyers.
So this is my lovely kitchen where I make my family meal, and I love to bake.
For Vanita Green, this kitchen is more than just a place to cook. It's proof that what once felt impossible is now reality. Green recently moved into this Hartford home with her son and daughter.
What was it like to move in here?
It was a relief. It was joyous, very exciting.
Like many families, Green was feeling the pressure of rising rents. Connecticut is the 6th most expensive state in the country for renters, with average monthly rents nearing $2,000. But Green had financial concerns about becoming a first-time home buyer.
Did you even kind of think that it would be possible?
Initially, I was thinking it was impossible.
And she's not alone. Hartford was recently named the hottest housing market in the country. So what's behind it? Well, there's not enough homes to meet demand. That is increasing prices and helping homes to sell fast.
NACA proud.
Green turned to NACA, the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America, which provides advocacy and counseling to help eliminate barriers to home ownership. The national nonprofit has an office in Hartford.
Everybody in America should own their own house. And everybody who have a house should be able to keep it.
People can take a free homebuyer workshop. NACA offers a below-market interest rate, no down payment, no closing costs, and people don't have to have perfect credit.
And I've seen a lot of people who come in who feel, I can't get this done. I'll never get this done. And they walk out here with a key. I've seen people go from homeless to owning a 2-family.
Green was able to buy a 3-bedroom home for her family.
So this is my living room, and I'm trying to be a plant mom.
And she hopes her story encourages others who think home ownership isn't possible.
For persons that are out there that still has some uncertainty, keep asking themselves, can they do it? Yes, you can do it.
Matt Austin for NBC News Now.
Love that story. Matt Austin from our station in Connecticut. Thank you so much. We are grateful you joined us today. NBC News Daily picks up after a very quick break.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.